Dave, pleasure to meet you, and thanks so much for spending some time with us here today.
My pleasure, thank you.
So when you hear the theme of money, and there's all the social stigma around money, etc., what comes to mind for you?
First thing, when you chase it, it runs. When you serve, it flows. That's the first thing.
Okay, and so when you say when you serve, it flows, what do you mean by that?
When you focus on serving people, stepping into their world, finding out what they really want, filling that need, you're paid handsomely for the process.
So the money starts to flow toward you as compared to running away from you.
Opposed to chasing the money and having it run away from you. I often say you can probably run faster, tackle it, break its arm, but it's not a very pleasant experience.
For either of you.
For either, yes.
That's great. You wrote a book called Equanimity. What's the theme of that book?
Equanimity means peace of mind, but it's a very special kind of peace of mind. It's a peace of mind you get when you know how to create a dream, you're in the action, you're actually doing the work of creating the dream, and you have an accomplishment, you have this wonderful sense that comes upon you. That's equanimity. The antithesis of equanimity is trepidation and fear. So if you can just feel the other end of that spectrum being equanimity. So equanimity, conquering Mount Entrepreneur, the peace that comes from taking the action necessary, living in the millimeters, doing the work, having a clear vision, serving the people, having a dream that you intrinsically validate, embracing the structure, facing the challenges, diving into them, learning from them, moving past them, knowing that they're all there to prepare you for the next step. That's equanimity.
So is there a process or are there milestones along the road to get there?
Yes.
What are they?
In the book, I have the reader as the main character. They actually pull into the parking lot of Mount Entrepreneur. And the first thing they notice is there are a lot of people in the parking lot. And one car is up on blocks. There are no rims. And there are roots growing through the axle. There's another one where someone is delivering a pizza and there are many boxes in the car. There's another one, the car is being repossessed and the family's in the car being driven away. So metaphorical for how life is. And you see people pounding on their steering wheel. And then the instructions are, when you get to the parking lot, read the first 3 critical decisions before starting the journey. Critical decision first is become the boss. Engage in life, embrace principles, connect, serve, create value, contribute, make that decision. 2, hire yourself. What is that? All the habits of thinking we bring with us. We carry them everywhere we go. They impact every facet of our life. Our emotional state, the decisions we make, the actions we take, the results we create. Are they supporting or sabotaging us? We're going to bring them with us, so let's hire them. Then the third decision is let's improve ourselves. Let's start embracing our gifting and let's start jettisoning those unhealthy habits of thinking. With those decisions made, we're ready to take a hike up the mountain, if you will. And in the book, we're met by a mentor who walks us to the first mile marker. It's I to the power of I. It's an intrinsic concept valued intrinsically. It's the formal science of axiological mathematics, which defines valuing a human being has the highest mathematical value of anything on this planet. So we learn to step into a person's world. We learn to listen and love and serve. And as we are unleashing the energy and productive cooperation in them, we get to move to the next mile marker, which is intrinsically valuing our dreams. You and I both know if we're going to generate revenue, we don't do that ourselves.
Right.
You cannot create your dream in a vacuum. It requires the participation with people. And so you step into their world, not to manipulate, because you can't fake love. And you create understanding, walls come down, cooperation floods out. Dr. Hartman measured that as 40% of their cooperation energy comes out. And then we're ready to go to mile marker number 2.
Which is?
An extrinsic concept valued intrinsically. It's the second highest mathematical value. We say, you want to know what your why is? It's the most valuable thing, second only to valuing people and valuing yourself. How do we intrinsically value a dream? We go into a place called the Valley of Dreams, where the mentor helps you identify a dream that can be intrinsically valued, which simply means when I found this thing I intrinsically value, that I want to create, number one, it's going to create spontaneous, inspired ideas. That when I get them, if I have a person wired to a functional MRI, we would see part of their brain ignite. So we know that it ignites something. We call that passion. We work without counting the cost or tracking the time. We'll do whatever it takes to create a tangible reality, that which we've seen so clearly in our mind. That's the first test. Is our dream not just creating the idea, but the action to create it?
Right.
2, this is the second of the third test. Second test, it encourages us. I love that word. En, add to, courage. If you speak French, cour, I don't say that very well, but cour means heart or blood. It adds to our courage to stretch and grow and become a better person. And as we become a better person, we actually become better at intrinsically valuing people and in actually creating and taking action. And third, it fosters abundance. Fosters abundance. Not only are we doing it to invite other people to participate in what's been created, we actually share with them how to create. So we're inspiring them to follow the same pattern. Once we understand that our dream meets those 3 tests, we're ready for mile marker 3, which is we're going to intrinsically value the structure needed to create the dream. We have done 75,000 habit finder assessments. We measure people's habits of thinking. We use the formal science of axiological mathematics. Nobody needs to remember that, other than it's deadly accurate. We know how a person thinks. And we know that entrepreneurial souls, us independent thinkers, 97% of us resist structure, unless it serves us. But our instinctual reaction is to resist the structure. And quite often the world wants to impose the structure, and we want to be able to have structure support the dream, the creation of the dream. But we'll want to be intrinsically valuing people and have a dream that we're intrinsically valuing. Now the structure makes sense. It'll support us. There's a scene in the book. We're with our mentor. We're staring at a 1,000-foot cliff. And the mentor is explaining where to put the pitons and where the footholds and the handholds. And you know, most entrepreneurs want to take their own path, right? Well, this is a straight, S-T-R-A-I-T, straight and narrow path that leads to the top. It could be a circuitous route, but it's a straight. It goes around all of the challenges, the simplest, safest way to the top. He's explaining this to us, and he turns to us and he says this: you do have a dream big enough to sustain what's about to happen? And we say yes, and he asked us, and we share our dream. It happened to be this person wanted to build a business and build a cabin, right? And he looks up at that mountain and looks back and goes, it had better be a really cool cabin. That's where we depart most of the time in the process. We get to the actual climb, the tough part, and we want to do it an easy way or a less stressful way. But dream creation requires embracing structure and intrinsically valuing it, which means we willingly embrace the structure. Entrepreneurs will not do that unless they have learned to intrinsically value people and have a dream that they intrinsically value. That's sufficient motivation to embrace the structure that will support the creation.
You seem to look through this lens of identifying intrinsic and extrinsic factors.
Yes.
And that seems to be a premise from which to build the rest of the constructs that you're working around. So can you give examples of what you consider to be intrinsic versus extrinsic and how they might apply?
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for identifying that. In the assessment, the secret to finding out how a person thinks, their habits of thinking, was to measure their intrinsic, extrinsic, and systemic thoughts, because we think in all 3 dimensions. Intrinsic are the thoughts we have about things beyond value. a human being. And we can value a human being based on their uniqueness, their appearance, their belief system, a belief system that's harmful, performance that's inappropriate, and pain they might be struggling with. So when we look at a human being, we are considering all of those areas. And with the assessment, we're able to measure our habits of thinking in all 6 of those areas. Extrinsic things are tangible things, measurable, comparable, contrastable things, things that we want to create. The beautiful thing about an extrinsic item that we value intrinsically, it's an external thing. It's like this beautiful home of yours that we're in today while we're doing this interview. This is an extrinsic concept. It probably inspires you. It's inspiring me. It'll cause you to want to stretch and grow. It'll cause you to want to serve people at a higher level, be a better person. Well, but it's an extrinsic concept. But isn't it powerful that an extrinsic concept, an external, physical, tangible concept could inspire us to do internal work?
Right.
That's a secret. It's a slippery slope. Then we have systemic thought, things that exist only in our minds. Order, structure, rules, regulations, policies, procedures. When we understand how we think, the habits of thinking, then we can find out where are the challenges.
Thanks so much for being here and watching that video. And can I ask you to please subscribe to our channel so you can find out when we're posting new content. You'll be alerted right away when we do. To share this with people you think might benefit from the information, and certainly it helps us if you like the video. So if you like what you just saw, go ahead and hit that like button. And again, thank you so much for being here with me right now.